Now in this video lecture we will study about enzymes, right? So enzymes are basically, they are catalysts, right? But those catalysts that work in the biochemical reactions, right? Those catalysts that catalyze biochemical reactions, right? Now there are various, so we call these enzymes as, enzymes are nothing but biochemical catalysts. Biochemical catalysts, right? Biochemical means biochemical reactions, right, that are occurring inside our body, right? So all those biological processes, right, like metabolic reactions and various digestion reactions, right, that are occurring inside our body, those are chemical reactions, and those chemical reactions are also catalyzed, right, by what we call as enzymes, right? Enzymes are nothing but catalysts which catalyze biochemical reactions, right? So there are various chemical processes or biochemical processes that are occurring inside our body, to be precise inside our cells and outside our cells, right? And all those processes are also catalyzed, right? There are various catalysts that catalyze those biochemical reactions. There are various biochemical reactions or biological processes that are occurring inside our body, right? Like digestion, right? When you eat food, proteins, what you intake is basically protein, fats and lipids, right? So these protein, fats and lipids cannot be directly absorbed by our blood, right, into our body. So in order to absorb these complex biomolecules, which are proteins, fats, lipids, right, these complex compounds needs to be broken down into simpler compounds. For example, carbohydrates needs to be broken down into simple monosaccharides, right, in order to get absorbed by our body, right? So all these reactions are catalyzed by what we call as enzymes, right? So enzymes are nothing but catalysts, like we have been doing in our previous lectures about catalysts. So these are also catalysts, right? And we see that we are using different terms when we are talking about enzymes, like we studied about promoters, poisons, right, in our previous lectures when we talked about catalysts, right? The catalysts that work in normal chemical reactions that we do in our labs, right? So these chemical reactions that occur in our body, here the term catalyst would be replaced by enzymes, right? And enzymes are nothing but they are proteins, they are globular proteins mainly, right? So this is again an important point. Enzymes are proteins, right? They are proteins, and enzymes are macromolecules. They are bigger molecules, right, that have high molecular masses, right? The molecular masses range from around 15,000 to 1 lakh gram per mole, right, which is high, right? And if you remember, in our previous lectures on colloidal solution, we have studied about macromolecular colloids, and macromolecular colloids are those that when dissolved in water, that is the macromolecules, when dissolved in water they form colloidal solutions, right? So here enzymes are also macromolecules, right, that have high molecular mass, right? So when these enzymes, right, are dissolved in liquid, they form colloidal solutions, right? So one important point is they form colloidal solutions, right? Since these are big molecules, right? So to be very specific, the colloidal solution of enzymes are known as macromolecular colloids, right? And they also have similar properties like other catalysts, right? They are specific in action, and they are enzyme catalysts are, the activity of enzyme catalysts are enhanced in presence of coenzymes, right, which are same as promoters, and their activity is also reduced in presence of what we call as same as catalytic poisons that we have studied there, we replace the term in enzyme terminology. We replace the term catalytic poisons by catalytic inhibitors, right? We replace the term by enzyme inhibitors. I'm sorry, right? So let's take some example of these enzymes, right? Inside our body, when we intake proteins, right? These proteins, right? Since I said that complex molecules needs to be broken down into simpler ones in order to get absorbed by our body, right? So these changes where complex molecules, complex organic molecules are converted into simpler ones, these conversions are catalyzed by enzymes, right? For example, proteins are converted into peptides, right? All proteins are converted into amino acids. Amino acids are simple molecules, right, of proteins. Amino acids combine to form peptides, peptides combine to form proteins, right? So when you intake proteins, these are finally broken down into amino acids. So when proteins are broken down into peptides, it is catalyzed by enzyme catalyst called as pepsin, right? And when proteins are converted into amino acids, this is catalyzed by trypsin, right? So here pepsin and trypsin, both these are acting as enzymes, right? And enzymes are nothing but catalyst, right? And this reaction, conversion of proteins into peptides, this take place in our stomach, right? And conversion of proteins into amino acids, this take place in our intestine. So trypsin is found in intestine and this pepsin is found in stomach. So this reaction occurs in intestines, right? So trypsin is found in intestine, pepsin is found in stomach. And without these catalysts, enzyme catalyst, it's very difficult for life processes to complete, right? If there are no enzymes, then these life processes or biological processes that are occurring in our body would become very sluggish, right? For example, a single meal, right? Single meal that get digests in our body, it will take around 50 years to digest without the presence of digestive enzymes, right? So it's digestive enzymes that catalyze the decomposition or the digestion of food, right? Without those enzymes, as I said, that a single meal will take around 50 years to get digested, right? So in a way they are helping the biological processes that are taking place inside our body, and without these biological catalysts, which are called enzymes, it would be impossible for these biological processes to continue, right? So I think we are clear about the definition of enzymes now, right? And there are some other biological processes that we have studied, right? Like inversion of cane sugar, right? Where the inversion of configuration takes place from dextrorotatory to levorotatory, right? C12 H22O11, right? This will form C6H12O6, right? Plus C6H12O6 in the presence of enzyme invertase, right? So sucrose will get hydrolyzed into glucose and fructose, right? This is your sucrose. Sucrose will hydrolyze. This reaction is basically hydrolysis, so it's like plus water, right? This is glucose and this is fructose. This take place in the presence of enzyme invertase, right? So this is sucrose which get hydrolyzed into glucose and fructose in the presence of enzyme invertase. right? And one more thing, whichever enzyme you have, you will notice that the enzymes ends with ASE, right? Just notice this, all enzymes ends with ASE, right? And similarly you have glucose, right? And you have maltose, like sugar, you have maltose C22, I'm sorry, C12H22O11, right? The hydrolysis of maltose into C6H12O6 into two molecules of glucose. This takes place in the presence of enzyme maltase, right? So you will notice one thing here, that although the structure of sucrose and maltose, right, are same, not the structure, I'm sorry, the chemical formula of sucrose and maltose is same, right? And this is catalyzed by maltase. The second reaction is catalyzed by enzyme maltase, right? Right here you will notice one thing, that this chemical formula of sucrose and maltose is same, right? But still, if you try to hydrolyze sucrose with maltase, maltase would not catalyze this sucrose, right? Sucrose is only catalyzed by invertase, right? And maltose is only catalyzed by maltase, right? So hydrolysis of maltose and hydrolysis of sucrose will takes place only in the presence of their respective enzymes, right? For hydrolysis of sucrose will takes place in the presence of invertase, whereas hydrolysis of maltose will takes place in the presence of maltase, right? So enzymes are specific in their action, right? One enzyme will catalyze one type of reaction only, right? As you can compare the same with the normal catalyst. The normal catalyst, we have studied that they also catalyze one particular reaction because of the chemical affinity of reactant with the catalyst, right? Because you know that adsorption takes place, which is chemisorption in case of normal catalysts, right? So reactant molecules have affinity for particular catalyst. So any catalyst cannot catalyze any reaction, right? Only specific catalyst can catalyze specific reactions. Same is here. Invertase cannot catalyze hydrolysis of maltase. Although here you will see that the chemical formula is exactly same, but we know that these two differs in their structures, right? So we'll come on to the structures in a while, right? So these are important reactions. The first one, protein into amino acids and peptides, right? These occur inside our body, and these, right, these are hydrolytic reactions, right, which are catalyzed by specific enzymes. Right now there is one important thing. Let's go on to the characteristics of catalyst. Now we are clear that enzymes are biochemical catalysts, right? And without these catalysts, biochemical processes or biological processes that are occurring inside our body would become impossible or very sluggish, right? And they are bigger molecules, macromolecules, so they form macromolecular colloids or colloidal solutions, right? And they are specific in their action, like we studied in case of maltase and invertase, right? These two enzymes cannot take each other's place, although the chemical formula of sucrose and maltose is exactly same, right? But they differ in their structures, right? So similarly, now let's talk about characteristics of enzymes, right? Characteristics of enzymes. First is specificity. Like we studied in these two reactions, enzymes are specific in their action, right? Similarly, if we take one organic reaction, this is the formula of urea, right? So urea, the hydrolysis of urea will take place in the presence of enzyme called as urease, right? And it will form ammonia plus CO2, right? And this reaction takes place in the presence of urease. And if you take other compound, this is N-methylurea, right? Methyl group, one hydrogen atom is replaced by one methyl group. So if you try to hydrolyze N-methylurea with urease, it won't be able to catalyze N-methylurea, the hydrolysis of N-methylurea, right? So if you use urease in the hydrolysis of N-methylurea, no reaction will take place, right? So these are specific in their reaction. In their action, it is clear from this and this example. Right. The second is efficiency. Right. We know that like normal catalysts are very efficient. Right. They increase, sometimes they double or triple the rate of reaction. Right. Here, efficiency. If we talk about efficiency of these enzyme catalysts, right, they are very efficient catalysts, right? These catalyst, enzyme catalyst, increases the rate of reaction by around 10 to the power of 23, right? That is why we said that a normal digestion process that takes place inside our body, it would take around 50 years without the presence of digestive enzymes, right? So digestive enzymes will increase the rate of, in the presence of digestive enzymes, right? The digestion of food takes place, increase by this much amount. This is a very big number, right? So they are very efficient. So presence of digestive enzymes increases the efficiency of the digestion reaction occurring inside our body, right? And the one more example of digestion is amide bonds, right? Amide bonds are chemically very stable, right? It's CONH2. These are amide bonds, right, which are formed in proteins, right? So these amide bonds, if you try to hydrolyze this amide bond in lab reaction, right, you need to hydrolyze this amide bond with an acid, right, or an alkali, that too when you heat it, right? You need to heat this amide in presence of acid or an alkali in the lab if you want to hydrolyze it, since it's a very stable bond, right? It's a amide bond. Amide bond is a stable bond, right? But if you notice, hydrolysis of amides, right, requires heating, right? Heating of amides with an acid or with an alkali, right, for few hours. You have to heat amide. If you want to hydrolyze amides in lab, you need to heat amides in the presence of alkali. It's only alkali, I'm sorry, there is no acid, right? You have to heat it for few hours, then only it will hydrolyze, right? But when the digestion takes place inside our body, right, the rate of the same amide bonds, right, the proteins present in our food, right, which also contain amide bonds, right, are easily hydrolyzed in the body by different enzymes, right? Like we studied here, we studied previously that proteins contains amide bonds, right? So inside our body, they are easily catalyzed by various enzymes to form amino acids, right? But if you want to do the same reaction outside the body in the lab, it requires heating, and then that too you have to heat it for a few hours, then only these amide bonds are hydrolyzed to amino acids, right? That too in the presence of an alkali. But inside our body, these enzymes are so much efficient that they easily hydrolyze these proteins into amino acids, right? So this comes under the efficiency of enzyme catalysts, right? Now, one important thing is you need to have an optimum temperature and pH, right, for enzymes to function. And what is this optimum temperature? Is 310 Kelvin, which is around 37 degrees Celsius, and your pH is normal physiological pH, which is 7.4, right? At this temperature and pH, the activity of enzymes are very high, right? They are very efficient, right? Or the enzyme catalyzed reactions have maximum rate, right? These reactions have maximum rate at this pH and at this temperature, right? And under these conditions, most of the chemical reactions do not occur at appreciable rates if done outside the body, right? Inside the body, these conditions, under these conditions, that is as 310 Kelvin and at 7.4 pH, the enzymatic reactions or the biological reactions that are occurring inside our body in the presence of enzymes, those reactions occur at a faster rate inside our body, right, at this pH and temperature. But if you want to do the same reaction outside the body, the reactions will hardly occur if you try to do the same reactions outside the body without the presence of enzymes, right? So enzymes make the reactions more efficient, right? And the ordinary lab catalysts are used, right? Then most of the chemical reactions do not occur under these conditions at appreciable rates, right? And now we have something known as coenzymes, right? Coenzymes are same as promoters in case of normal catalysts. So how these coenzymes, when we talk about biological reactions, these coenzymes are mostly metal ions, right? Like sodium ion, potassium ion, right? Copper ion, let's see, potassium ion and your copper ion, right? These are coenzymes, right? And vitamins, right? In the presence of vitamins, the activity of enzymes increases, right? And in the presence of these ions, the activity of enzymes increases. So these are coenzymes, right? The activators are generally metals, right? And these metal ions are weakly bonded to enzyme molecules and increase their catalytic activity, right? So what these ions will do, if you look into the mechanism of those reactions, these enzyme molecules will get bound to enzymes, right, and increase their efficiency, right? So coenzymes are like promoters. They promote the activity of enzymes, right? For example, you have an enzyme called as amylase, right? In the presence of sodium chloride, right, it shows a very high catalytic activity. There's an enzyme called as amylase whose activity increases in presence of sodium chloride, because sodium chloride contains your sodium ions, right? So activity of amylase increases in the presence of sodium ions, right, which it gets from sodium chloride. Now there are similarly, like catalytic poisons, we have enzyme inhibitors, right, or poisons. Enzyme inhibitors, right, or poisons. Let's see what are these. Okay, to understand these enzyme inhibitors, let's just little talk about the structure of enzymes, right? these enzyme inhibitors, actually the enzymes have active sites. Like normal catalyst, they have active centers, right, which are active centers are nothing but unsatisfied valencies, right, free valencies that are available that can form bonds, right, temporary bonds with the reactant molecules. Similarly, these enzymes also have active sites, right, and those active sites contain some functional groups, and these functional groups, when these enzymes catalyze the reactions, these functional groups form bonds with the reactant molecules. Reactant molecules in here in enzyme terminology we call as substrates, right? So these active sites that contain functional groups, active functional groups, will form bonds with the substrate molecules, right? So what these enzyme inhibitors do, or these enzyme poisons do, they just destroy these functional groups, right? That helps enzymes to catalyze the reaction, right? So active sites contain functional groups like carboxylic groups, right? OH group, NH2 group, thiol group. I'm sorry, this is COOH, carboxylic group, right? NH2 amino group, OH group. All these are functional groups that we have studied in organic chemistry. Thiol group, right? So these are the functional groups, right, that are present in the active site of catalysts, right? And it is these functional groups, right, that will react with reactant molecules. Right? So this is how these enzymes catalyze the biological reactions using their functional groups that are present in the active sites, right? So what these poisons do, right, or these inhibitors or poisons, they will destroy these functional groups, right? So such substances which we call its inhibitors, they will lower down the activity of enzymes, right, by reducing or completely destroying these functional groups, right? So these will destroy or reduce these functional groups, right, in order to lower down the activity of enzymes, right? So activity of enzymes is due to these functional groups. So what these inhibitors or poisons will do, they will reduce or completely destroy these functional groups, right? So the activity of enzymes will fall down, right? So these are the characteristics of enzymes, right, which are same, and we notice that these are same as your catalyst, the normal catalyst that we have studied in our previous lectures, right? So there is one more thing in this enzyme study, which are biocatalysts, the mechanism of enzyme catalysis, which includes your lock and key mechanism, right? We will do that in the next lecture, right? I hope all this is clear to you. Thanks.